up and away back down to Florida for some sunshine and some vinyl. So here we go again, taking to the skies. It's always good to get in the air and get out of town and have a little excursion plan to a vinyl shop. And when you can land at sunset and get your feet on the ground in time for cocktail hour and plan your day to the vinyl shop, you're in good business. All right, back in Florida, and that means we can head up to Vero Beach to Wax Records, and hopefully they'll be open this time, because last time they weren't open. So great record shop. They got a lot of great stuff, a lot of great vinyl, and a lot of great 45s. Detroit Bob, back at you. All right, one thing about here in Florida, you can get a little raindrop here and there, but it usually is passing. It'll go over, and everything's going to be good. So we're having a little squall, if you will. It's more like a sprinkle, but we're on our way to the record store, Wax Records, and we're crossing this body of water. They call it the International Waterway, but it's really known as the Indian River. And we're heading out from the island down to the main coast, up A1A, and then we're gonna shoot over to Vero Beach to a record shop. So stay tuned, man. This is fun. And we might get a few raindrops, but we're not gonna let it use or ruin our vinyl hunting. So we got a good dig coming up. Stay tuned. All right, here we go. The place is called Wax Records, and it's in this little complex here. So the signage isn't that big, but you can see it right here at the bottom left, Wax Records, and that's where we're going. So let's check it out. And last time we were here, there was just a note from the owner saying, on vacation, see you in 2 weeks. But I don't know, it looks like they might be opened. We'll see. All right, Detroit Bob, I'm in front of Wax Records. And like I said, they were closed last time. We're gonna go in and see if they're open. And if so, we're gonna buy some vinyl. 45s, that is. All right, back at Wax Records, and these guys really rock it pretty well. Vero Beach, the owner just pointed me towards the 45s. They're part of Record Store Day. I've been down here before. They got a nice selection of LPs, but you know me, I love 45, so we're gonna dig right into that. The owner just said he's getting a special box out for me, so that's always cool. And here we are. We're going to be crawling around on our hands and knees, but that's what you got to do if you love records. So this is the box that you just priced?
About halfway in the front.
Okay.
So about to right there is all the stuff I just priced.
All right. Okay.
Then pricing through a collection, but I had to get them up in the back because we just had our 10th anniversary drop.
Oh, nice.
So here.
Yeah.
Here and the wall is stuff we just dropped Saturday. We've been holding back a lot of the better stuff and then doing a special drop for our Saturday 10th anniversary.
And then so 45s, I'm down on that lower shelf
45s
there.
are all down in all those cuppies down there.
All right, cool.
Yeah, and then also some of the newer ones we'll put right on that row right there.
All right, cool. I gotta go.
The heavier hitters.
Good. Yeah, so walking in again, I got my checklist of Northern Soul Top 500. I got my eyeglasses. I got my chest mount camera. And I already talked to the owner. He's steering me in the right direction. But look at this, the cool little storefront. You know, they got some cool graphics going in there. And I met some cool people during Record Store Day. Great place so far.
I'll post this on our Instagram story.
Yeah, definitely. And I tag you, you tag me. You know, it's organic. I'm not selling anything. Yeah. My typical episode, I find a record store. Get in the front door, look through a bunch, and then I do a summation at the end, and I have a gem of the week.
Okay.
So out of one of the 45s is going to be my gem.
Nice.
I've been on a soul kick lately, this Northern Soul and soul stuff. These guys in Europe love it. 13% of my viewers are from the UK, which I didn't think that would happen, but it has. And they seem to be into 45s over there more than here. And do
me a favor, reach out to us on Instagram or Facebook, or call us, whatever. Let us know when the episode drops.
Yeah, you can Google me, RockMine, all one word, and I should be number 2 or 3.
Great.
And then just hit subscribe.
Okay.
So you do that, and
I'm
then
just doing like this, you know. Follow Detroit Bob on YouTube. His episode
Yeah.
of us will be live in about 2 to 3 weeks.
yeah, it's cool. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we cross market as much as we can,
Nice.
and I'm sort of old school, but
Yeah.
I got a foot in each camp, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in the
I thought
beginning.
about doing a YouTube video just, if nothing else, for our locals to keep them updated.
Yeah.
It's like there's so much product that comes in here, and I try to post it on like our Instagram story.
Yeah, YouTube is a different animal. It's a slow burn.
Yeah. Oh.
But you know, when I retired, I first thing I did, bought a jukebox, and I had to rebuild it. And so I'm like, oh, I better buy some of these 45s. And I really got addicted to the single,
Yeah.
and the story behind each song, and you know, and the labels, and you know, the one-hit wonders. And so I'm like, you know what? Instead of watching these metal detecting shows where they lay it all out at the end, what if you did it with records?
Yeah.
And you're searching for records in the
Sure.
gem,
Yeah.
and at the end you lay out all your finds, right?
Love it.
So that's how I got started. You'll probably be episode either 51 or 52.
Great.
So I've been at it almost a year. How long you been in the record business?
10 years. We opened the store 10 years. We're celebrating our 10th anniversary. We celebrated this Saturday.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
This coming Saturday?
No, we
Just-
just passed. We had a special drop Saturday, and then Sunday we had a celebration party at the 21st Amendment.
Oh, that's cool.
So we literally just celebrated our 10th anniversary, and then personally I've been into vinyl since about 2001, 2002.
Okay.
When I was given my dad's friend's record collection.
Yeah.
Because they were cleaning out the closet.
Yeah.
And I framed them up for artwork in my room.
Wow.
And then I got a turntable, and then I bought my first new record.
Right.
Because that was about when they were, pressing new records.
Sure.
So, I got like Nirvana, Bleach, I got Foo Fighters, Self-Doubt, Pearl Jam 10, stuff like that I was into.
That is sweet.
Yeah. And then, then it was just like pedal to the metal, man. I'd go to like flea markets, garage sales, there'd be a box of records, I'd buy the whole box. How much for the whole box?
Yeah, you got the bug.
Yep.
So how do you get to the point where you open a store?
So there was a store that we frequented in town
Uh-huh.
called Grooves, and he opened up, and we got even more addicted to buying new records. And I was in there every day.
Got it.
Literally every day. I would limit myself to a record a day.
Right.
And he was open for about a year and a half. And around that time, me and my dad were thinking, man, how cool it would be to open up a record store, But I was like, I never want to because I never want to be competition for Steve,
Right.
Like, well, maybe we could open up in Sebastian, or maybe we could open up our store in Fort Pierce and Commute.
Right.
Because there's no record store there, It's an untapped market.
Sure.
Right around that time, 2 months later, Steve passed away.
Wow.
So we reached out to his wife.
Uh-huh.
We offered to buy the shop. We offered to buy his name, all his records, everything. She didn't want to sell.
All right.
So we thought, well, if you don't want to sell and you don't want to open up the store back again,
Right.
then maybe we should just open up our own shop.
And
that's what we did.
and at that point, you sort of had the lane was open for you to take. Got
So
it.
that was pretty much it in a nutshell.
Wow. That's cool, man. Good story.
Open up the store with our own collection, and after about a year of being opened and collections rolling through and buying from our distributors, we started pulling back some of the records, our personal records, back into our collection, and then
Sure.
slowly but surely replaced some of those records that we regretted selling.
Oh my God, that's
Now I've got way more than I did when I opened up the shop.
yeah. It's they're out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got about 10,000 right now.
Wow. 45?
Yeah, 45s. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sitting at about. I think I'm at about 5,500 LPs and 545s.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you know, and then when I got my niche, you know, 45s, you know, it's like, and so I'm like, okay, if I find a great LP, of course I pick it up, you know. But I sort of like my niche, and I got a guy trying to tell me what to do on the YouTube, so I got a little bit of a guy, he does Samsung products, and all he does is demos, and he's got 500,000 subscribers.
Oh, wow.
You know, so I'm like, okay, so what do I do, you know? He's like, okay, well, do this, you know. So I try to post a short every day. So the episode that I do on Wax Tracks, there'll be like a week full of shorts, the 1 minute vertical ones, but they steer you back to the YouTube where hopefully you become a subscriber, you know what I mean?
Yep. Nice.
And then I got a hold of you know, I thought, well, I'll just join one of those record and tape clubs. Well, they don't exist anymore. But I did join Jack White's Third Man Vault.
Okay.
And been up to Detroit, toured it,
Nice.
hit the Motown Museum at the same time. That was a nice twofer. Made a whole episode out of that.
That'd be cool. Yeah, you could do, you know, a video on unboxing and stuff.
Yeah, I did a unboxing video on some of the Third Man stuff, and you know, the Vault packages, and so there's a story around every corner, and I just tell the story, man. The episodes make themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some people like, you know, the to and from the record store. The hardcore collectors, they want to just see me flipping through records.
Really?
Yeah. And, you know, there'll be some British guy, oh my God, you missed a rare copy.
That's the only problem when you show what you look for.
And I'm like, okay, well, I'll go back. Yeah. You should have bought that one.
Yeah.
Some of these hard, you know, I'm still learning, you know.
Yeah.
But it's all fun.
Oh, yeah.
And then they said, well, vinyl sales are down this year. And then the next day they said, well, that was not true.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I did see that, and I was finding it hard to believe that it was down 33%. I was like,
yeah.
That doesn't sound right. Maybe a small correction, but like,
yeah.
I haven't felt 33% down in sales.
No.
That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, they came back the next day and basically said,
If anything, I would say it leveled off, but, you know, even thinking about that, I would say it leveled off a year ago.
Yeah.
I would say we've done about the same as last year.
Well, yeah, and there's...
Everything was crazy there for 2 years.
Yeah.
That was just not going to last. I don't do that.
Well, and like a lot of these kids were starting from zero.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you got 100 LPs and you have a collection.
Yep.
So, of course, capacity-wise, storage-wise, a lot of reasons why that might level off, you know?
We lost a lot of collectors like that. They got in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
They bought about 20 records from Walmart and Target.
Right.
And then they sold us their records and, you know, $150 turntable.
Yeah.
They're out.
Yeah,
A lot of collections like that. They have the same records, you know?
Right.
So yeah, we've lost a lot of customers like that, but you know, the customers that were in pre-2020, they're all still into it. And
There you go.
the ones that are in for it for the right reasons, they're still in.
There you go. Well, I look at it, I'm a history buff, and a lot of these vinyl records, you know, you found out, wow, Rolling Stones didn't do that originally. It was some obscure R&B group out of Cleveland.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these British guys are really into like, well, who did the original, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And they want the, you know, they collect the first pressing of, you know, Walking the Dog by Rufus Thomas on Stax Records, you know.
Yep. It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Need a VCR? There's a VCR right down there.
No, I like it.
Cool, right? All right, then. Cash or card?
Only time.
All right. Oh, yeah. Courage and conformity.
All
All
right.
right.
Man, you say that he's fighting with the guitar dealer.
Crazy, right?
So what? That wasn't the games or what?
Yeah.
Man, this.
And Jason Barrow seems to think they're done.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Well, look at you. I mean, the harvest is good.
I know, man.
He's been like it.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why he's
I
playing
know.
that guy.
Terry Farrell is pretty frail, man.
Yeah.
He's tall, but you don't want to be messing with Jason
We
Barrow.
never went to any concerts of that.
That's not true. I saw them in 2002. Yeah, Lollapalooza. Yeah, they were great. Yeah, very great. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Let's see how it happens. Glad to see you, Roy. Take care, man.
All right, bud.
Bye.
See you, man.
Say hello to your father.
I will.
Bye.
I was up in Michigan a couple weeks ago, pulled into some small town, called ahead, you got any 45s? Yeah, we got them. Walk in there, this old guy, I'm like, oh, how long you been here? Well, since 1974. I'm like, continuously? He goes, yeah, this is our 50th year.
Wow.
And so got a great episode out of him. He told me the whole story, and
Wow.
and he never closed.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was in a record shop in New York City, and I think we go to New York City about once every 2 years.
Yeah.
That's a lot of record stores. I used to have a lot more in Manhattan when there was better record stores in Manhattan.
Right.
Now I typically have to go to Brooklyn.
Sure.
A lot of better ones in Brooklyn now, but I don't know. I was in Manhattan, somewhere around Bleecker,
Yeah.
and walking around, and all of a sudden, like, in a diner, and there's a picture of freewheeling, and then I'm in a bookstore, and there's a picture of freewheeling. I'm like, why the heck are there so many pictures of freewheeling? And I'm in a record store, and I'm like, what? I've never seen this record store. And he goes, that's because freewheeling was right outside my door.
Wow.
I'm like, what? The picture of that Bob Dylan cover was right outside his door. And I was like, how long have you been here? He goes, since the 70s? Like, holy crap.
Wow. So is that famous one where he's walking down the street with the chick on his arm? Yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
Oh my
It's
God.
pretty close to Bleecker, and there's a record store that's been there since pretty close to when that album was new.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of an iconic
Yeah.
cover.
Yeah, that was in New York City. Like, he's been there forever. One of the last good ones still left. It's a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
It's probably a quarter the size of our shop.
So he never closed.
No, never closed. You know?
Yeah, that's great. That's a good
Yeah,
record.
it's pretty amazing the ones that adapted, because there's been ups and downs, man. I mean,
Yeah.
the records and the CDs were back in, so then, okay, now you gotta sell CDs, and then
Right.
CDs aren't really selling because Napster comes along, and
Right. Yeah, I was in
adapt and carry more vinyl, and
I was in Laguna Beach, and there's one called Sound Spectrum. Never closed. This was in probably 2011, 2010. He goes, I go, you really sell a lot of vinyl? He goes, oh yeah. He goes, the drummer from Green Day was just in here, and he bought all the Beatles on original
Wow.
180 gram vinyl.
Wow.
I go, that's cool. So I'm like, something's going on here.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny, a lot of the records I bought in the early 2000s, the new records, I was buying some at Hot Topic
Yeah.
in the malls,
Yeah.
and they would have a small section, and I mean a really small section, a crate or two of records, that was it.
Right.
But come to find out years later when Discogs came along and I was logging them,
Mm-hmm.
they were selling original records. They must have been dead stock.
Interesting.
So the owner or the CEO of Hot Topic must have had some kind of finding with warehouses that were full of dead stock records that went on clearance that just they found and they distributed to their Hot Topic locations. Again, this is speculating, but also I know where I bought my records.
Right.
So like, for instance, the Foo Fighters self-titled album. I bought that in a Hot Topic in 2002 and it was a 1995 first press.
Wow.
Another one I know, there was a Soundgarden EP from 1988. I bought that in a Hot Topic in 2002. So go figure.
Yeah.
For $14.99, you know?
So you were getting the original pressings
I was
that.
getting original pressings in 2001, 2002 from Hot Topic, who must have been buying dead stock found in warehouses.
Wow.
That maybe, for all I know, maybe that's why they decided to carry them in the first place.
Right. Right.
You know, they had their exclusive pressings. They had, like, you know,
Yeah. No.
emo bands at the time, AFI and things like that.
Someone wanted to clear out a warehouse and said, listen, I've got all this old dead stock. They had no idea what it was worth. And they bought it in bulk, probably sight unseen. And you were just the lucky guy that discovered it.
I was, and a lot of them I was just buying for artwork, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't the heavy hitter albums. It was more, Foo Fighters was probably the best thing I bought there. Or maybe, for all I know, I mean, maybe Foo Fighters self-titled with the gun on it. Maybe that just never went out of print. Maybe that just, you know, got pressed in 95 and then just got pressed in 96, 97, 98 with the same stampers.
Yeah, and
So it could have been that too.
isn't that when, when did vinyls really start? I know with 45s it was around 91, 92.
Well, it never technically stopped, but I would say the dead period was really 93 to 96, 97.
Yeah. And they basically said, you're buying a CD whether you like it or not,
Yeah.
In the 90s.
But what's interesting is, like, I had this discussion with somebody the other day, like, Stone Temple Pilots, Core was never released in the U.S. in, what was that, early 90s, 91? And then Purple comes along, also never released in the U.S., it was released in the U.K. But then Tiny Music, which was released in 95, got a U.S. press. So they must have said, okay, we'll press it, but we're going to do like a collector's, like limited edition.
Right.
We're going to press a lot of them. But people still buy vinyl, so we're going to do a little bit of them.
Well,
Like we're going to press 5,000 of them, and that's it.
and their competitors, Pearl Jam up the road, stayed true to vinyl all the way through, didn't they?
Yeah, I think that, yeah, you're right, they did.
So-
They had the 10 Club, so it was like, yeah, if you still have the vinyl, yeah, we're going to,
Yeah. So, there you go.
yeah.
I think it's sort of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, whether you
I
collect...
tell that story about Hot Topic to my customers, like, because I don't think many people know that, you know?
I bet you that's long since over with.
Oh, that's long gone.
That's
yeah.
a...
It wasn't like I was buying, Nirvana Nevermind or Pearl Jam 10 or anything like that at Hot Topic. But it
Right.
was like, yeah, it was it was like some EPs and
Right.
they were hanging around. They were just sealed at Hot Topics.
Isn't that crazy?
Wild, man. They must have had so much vinyl in the early 90s that they didn't know what to do with, or the mid 90s. And
Yeah.
they're like, well, we don't want to throw them away. No one's buying them. Let's just put them in a warehouse. And
I mean, it was overnight. I had my... I can tell you exactly when it stopped up till 1990, and my birthday in April of 1990, I got a CD player. And from that point on, I didn't play any more vinyl because it was just so easy. But then, I got to go buy CDs. And at first, I'm like, okay, well, they're a little bit more expensive. Then they got a little bit more expensive. And after a while, I'm like, what am I going to do with all these records? So I boxed them up. And COVID hit, I'm like, where's my records? I'm like, my son's like, oh, you gave them to me, Dad. And I don't remember that, but...
yeah.
And then I go, well, I'll take them back. And he goes, no, I'm keeping them. So then I'm like, okay, well, screw you. I'm going to start a collection. And there we go. Started buying a few LPs, and I'm like, these 45s are fun.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I had a lot of, early 90s records. Because that was also, when eBay came along. So I was buying a lot of stuff on eBay. That I know, too.
Yeah.
Early Nirvana singles, and Pearl Jam 10, and...
Yeah, there was...
alternative stuff, grunge stuff.
Right.
You can find that on vinyl,
Right, and you knew it was a little niche that was going to have value because there was some small...
Oh, I didn't even think about value. I really didn't.
Right.
I had no idea. I was buying Temple of the Dog. A lot of the early 2000 stuff. Well, you couldn't find it on vinyl anyway. But a lot of the 90s stuff that I listened to, Silverchair, Foo Fighters, you can find that on vinyl. And it was like 30, 40 bucks.
Right.
I think I paid up for at the time, I paid up for Pearl Jam 10. I paid 50 bucks for it. I think I paid $50 for an original pressing of Temple of the Dog on eBay.
Okay.
And
you were a fan.
I didn't give a crap about value. I never thought that they'd be worth any more than that. Fast forward to 2012.
Right.
And Discogs comes along. I start logging my collection, and I'm like, what's worth what? I'm like, my Mad Season records were $200. I'm like. I got that for $15.
That is funny. Yeah.
I had no idea, man. I'm like, I better take better care of these.
Yeah. They're laying on your bedroom floor.
I always kind of did, but
yeah.
They weren't protected seeds.
No.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. All right.
For a while there was a guy selling, he found boxes of Alice in Chains' Three-Legged Dog.
Jesus.
And I want to say this was, so it was after we opened the store, but not shortly after. It was 2015, I'm going to guess?
Yeah.
And he was flooding the market. He auctioned one, sealed, with a hype sticker, with a clipped corner. Then the next day he auctioned another one, and after about 10 auctions, he just put a buy it now with 50 copies. And I'm like, dude, wait, you gotta tell me the story. And he's like, I bought a warehouse that was boxes of them. I'm like, oh my God.
So did the price go down with every...
Falling,
yeah, because I all of a sudden realized someone just ran into a cache.
Yeah.
And...
How's it going? Good. Yeah, I ended up, when the price finally really fell, I think I ended up snagging one for $75.
Yeah, you don't want to be that first guy.
Yes.
I got some stuff to put on the counter.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
I called earlier about box sets.
Yeah. Let's take a look.
RockMine is at Wax Tracks in Vero Beach, Florida, and I'm having a great one-on-one convo with the owner. And we're going down memory lane, and the great part is I sort of started my CD collection when he started his vinyl collection. So the 90s was a weird period. He basically started by running across stuff at a hot topic, and I was getting a new CD player and abandoning my vinyl about 90, 91. So it was a weird period. They were mass marketing CDs. The record store I went to called Hagwish in the region overnight just went full CD. It seemed they went 50-50 for about a year. Then it was 70-30 and 80-20, 90-10, and they finally closed. So it was, even if you wanted to buy vinyl, it wasn't on the shelves anymore. The weird thing about CDs, too, you couldn't play them in your car, So all of us are driving around with cars, and we go, oh wow, we finally got some decent audio systems, but they're cassette decks. So I'm in the position, starting my career in the starvation period. I don't have any money. I couldn't afford the CDs. They were $14, and albums are $8.99, $7.99. You can get a double album for under $10. So I found myself in a position of having to go to the public library and get some CDs, drop them to cassette so I could pop them in my new minivan, because I got kids now. But the minivan had a kick-ass stereo system, a Bose 7-speaker, but it was cassette deck. So I'm buying these CDs, but I found these box sets. I'm like, what the hell is a box set? Well, they used to put 4 CDs in a box that was the same size of an LP, probably so the record stores could still use the same bins. But I found the Motown box set. I found the Chess Records box set. I found VJ Records had a box set. I had never heard of VJ Records. And lo and behold, a lot of the songs by Linda Ronstadt, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, they were all done by R&B artists originally. A lot of these versions I had never heard before. So I was fascinated by the fact that Eric Clapton's Ain't Got You was originally done on VJ. And Doris Troy, You're No Good, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but a lot of these early Chess songs ended up on Beatles and Stones and other modern rock and roll stations that we listened to. So I sort of really got into, and even the Atlantic came out with a really good box blues series that I really ate up. I found out about guys like Mississippi John Hurt and Albert King, and I'm like, this is some good stuff here. So I ended up getting an education with all these reissue box set packages, but it was still cumbersome. There was no, I think in 94 I got a portable CD player, it had an adapter. And so the adapter was shaped like a cassette tape and had a wire coming out of it that you had to plug into your portable CD player, which sat on the floor of your car. Problem solved, right? No. I think it was Oasis's first album. And every time you hit a bump, the damn thing skipped. So I have this $250 CD player that skips every time you hit a bump. So I think 2 years later, they came out with one that had a memory. So it would still skip, but it was always playing 30 seconds ahead. So that was the solution they came up with. Lo and behold, LPs sort of got boxed up and set off to the side. And that's just the way it was. And Hot Topic, I remember going into Hot Topic because they had the cool old concert T-shirts. It was sort of like a skate punk store. They still got them. They're in malls all over America. And I probably walked back past that little bin that he's talking about that had those old Soundgarden and these old, LPs by Stone Temple Pilots that he was buying up Foo Fighters. And I was just looking at the old concert T-shirts and saying, oh, yeah, Zeppelin 77 America Tour, the iconic concert T-shirt of the show I never got to go to. But I did find a used CD store called CD Trading Post that I just basically started buying all my stuff used. And I did notice they had vinyl up on the wall. Saw where Queen sold their catalog for $1 billion.
Crazy. Pink Floyd too.
I know. But Pink Floyd only got only 400 million.
I know, as opposed to Queen, which is insane, I know. But I think Queen's a little bit more commercial.
I think so.
I think they're more marketable than...
Yeah, Pink Floyd, that audience is getting a little old.
Yeah.
Where Queen, when they did the movie and everything, all of a sudden everybody knows about Queen.
Exactly. They did a movie about Pink Floyd, maybe
I think we're good. I stuck in the price lane.
Okay.
So start adding those up.
Okay. See what you
And
got.
then you said you had another box that you...
right
yeah.
there. Yep.
Okay.
You can put them on the counter.
Okay,
On the counter
thanks.
if you want.
And also, that's about the size of a stack I can get in my backpack and get into the plane. So that's when I know to stop.
There you go.
Right. Cool.
And thanks so much, man.
Yeah.
Please reach out to us when
Yeah.
the video's over, or uploaded.
Yeah,
and,
I'll definitely
I'd like to check it out.
Stickers, magnets, anything like that you can throw in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here you go.
And
A
throw
couple
it-
stickers there
yeah.
for you.
And you got a bag
Yes,
or
I do.
something? Okay, cool. And I appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Still got time to hit the beach.
Yeah, there you go. There we go.
All right, have a good
Right.
one. What was your name again?
Saxon.
Saxon, nice to meet you.
Nice
Detroit
to meet
Bob.
you. Yes.
Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
All right. We got a bag full of records, so all's good there. It's still time to hit the beach, and Detroit Bob is happy. We're gonna go ahead and do maybe a little metal detecting this afternoon, and let's do this. Oh, it's a hot one. Wax Records Incorporated. Saxon came through in a big way. It's time to get back on the island and wrap this trip up. So a little sunshine, metal detecting on the beach, and then basically back on the plane. So the island is cool. It's pretty chill. I'm feeling good. I got just enough vinyl to fill up my backpack. And I'm telling you what, the hospitality, I just felt like I had a conversation with a good friend down at Wax Records. So I'm definitely going back. I want to feature them regularly in these little videos and make it a destination. So you'll probably see some upcoming episodes at Wax Records with Saxon in Vero Beach. But like I said, time to hit it one last time, get a little sunshine, and here we go, back home to the region. Time to sum up what we got and lay it all out for you. And another adventure is coming in for a landing in Chicago. Till we see you next time, I'll go through these records and we'll go ahead and give you a little update. All right, let's do a quick wrap up of what I got at Wax Records. And that's down in Vero Beach. A great little store. Got a chance to talk to the owner and pick up some 45s. I think I spent some money, 125 bucks. But I got some good records, I think. Rolling Stones, Bitch, with the brown sugar. So I think the B-side is actually Bitch. But it's a great, great American classic. When you get that for $3, you pick it up. In good shape, by the way. The Contours, Do You Love Me? And Move Mr. Man, B-side. $1.99 for the Electric Prunes. Of course you're going to pick that up. Psychedelic classic. I Had Too Much to Dream last night. The Outsiders. Girl in Love with Time Won't Let Me. That's that Starline sort of a two-for package. Junior Walker, I've just been picking everything up about him since I found out he's got a couple on the Northern Soul list. Tyrannosaurus Rex. I don't know if that's T-Rex or not, but I'm like, okay, maybe it is. Eddie Cochran. Yeah, so yeah, Mark Bolan, it's T-Rex, but I always thought, I know him by T-Rex. So the Beach Boys Break Away, a little lesser known, and it's on that sort of mid-era Capital Swirl, and the Cadillacs, if you know Speedo, and they did them in the intro of the Temptations movie. Show and Tell by Al Wilson. I've got a copy of this, but you can never have too many. Prince, $4, and some people, but Erotic City is a great B-side of Let's Go Crazy. And there was a DJ, WADET in Detroit that used to play Erotic City. It actually broke it as a hit. That was a great B-side hit. And my roommate used to play the heck out of that in East Lansing. Skip and Flip on this label, Brent. I was sort of interested in it. It looks old. And VJ, I got to pick up my VJ, right? Goodnight Irene, because Little Richard, that'll clean up to a very good.
he did a little time with VJ. Otis Redding, you know, I'm reading all about these Stax and Volt stars. And Otis Redding, you know, this became a hit after he died. And Steve Cropper was big on this one. I think he produced it and co-wrote it. So it's a great. And then Try a Little Tenderness, one of his earlier hits, which really got Stax and Volt off of the ground. A little bit overpriced, but, you know, I'm willing to pay if I get some bargains. And then I just couldn't say no to that. Jackson Brothers on Vero Records. Now, is that the Jacksons, the Jackson 5? I doubt it. It looks like a country. But this is the Jacksons, right? State of Shock. Because you got lead vocals by Michael and Mick. And I saw Michael perform this with his brothers on the Victory Tour, which is this tour right here. That single came off that album in 1984. Great performance. The Girl Around the Corner on Chess. I've been picking up a lot of Chess. And this is number 12, so who knows? Now, this looked old and obscure and very reggae homemade. So I took a chance on it for $4. Once again, another old, obscure. It's got a Kingston address on it. So if you can get something that says made in Jamaica for $4, it's probably worth picking up, because they didn't make a lot of these reggae pressings. Even if they're in lousy condition, pick them up. The Jesters just caught my eye. I probably overpaid for this, but then again, it's got that homemade reggae feel, even though it looks like it was in, I don't know, man. It could be something from Jamaica, but it could be like in the Bronx, you know, where they just re-recorded it or something like that. Foolish One by Carl Mann. It's a Sun record. It looks like a reissue of that little Gold Treasure series. But let's see what we got here. I'm going to total these up and let you know. Tingling. These all have stickers on them. The Clovers, that's a nice twofer on the Yellow Atlantic. The Clovers, once again, a nice twofer there. And the Gap Band. I've been picking them up because I think they're the ones that did Early in the Morning, which has got that intro. Talking Heads in a picture sleeve for $6 with Take Me to the River. It looks a little, probably a VG once I clean it up. Play graded. This is an early Eldorados on BJ. And you know, they were out of Gary, Indiana. I'm always looking for VJ number 498. The Beatles spelled with 2 T's. That's my holy grail. The Spaniels, Lost Night Records on red vinyl. Yes, heck yes. Paid $4 for that. Cool in the Gang. They're going to get in the Hall of Fame. I think they're underpriced almost everywhere you go. You forget how many Too Hot. That was a great hit. You forget how many great songs they had. They were just on the radio all the time. $5.99 Tally. It's probably a $3 record. I overpaid a little bit. It says 10 here. I didn't pay for that. And I actually didn't even pay. He gave me a good discount on all this stuff. We Love You, which is on more Hot Rocks, but Dandelion, which is a pretty good record. It might even be VG+. The Velvet Tones, okay? Seems to me I saw them show up on a Northern Soul list there. My True Story. Oh, by the way, the Northern Soul 500, a guy just sent me, thank you very much, a basic, well, alphabetical version of it is what it is. Look at this label. It just screamed old. The Jive 5. It's got a good look to it. And this one almost looks like it's autographed. So the Jive 5 with Eugene Pitt. Boy, that looks like Gene Pitt. And maybe somebody else from the group right there. So I always picked up Electric Avenue. Hard to find this one. I've had a hard time finding it. Eddie Grant. He was from, who was he from? Maybe Come Back. The Equals, was that what they were called? And he had that breakout hit. Spaniels, once again, on red vinyl. So we're doing that. And Mungo Jerry in the Summertime. You got to have that. My buddy Tony turned me onto the song, and I got it in my jukebox now. But for 99 cents, look at that. It's a great copy. Chess Records, Laura Lee, Hang It Up. So I got that. I got some weird looking labels on red vinyl here. The Bel Airs, Blend Airs, Booker T and the MGs. And was this the original? Because I think the original Green Onions was a B-side. It was that stinky onion idea. Funky, stinky, soul-y, jazzy, behave yourself. So I wonder which one's the A side. You gotta look at the numbering sometimes. No, 95 and 96. So Behave Yourself would be the B side. Happy Trails by Van Halen. Once again, I love Van Halen and Pretty Woman right there. All right, we'll total them up. Once again, I just want to plug that Wax Records. I think that, well, where are they at? They're in Vero Beach, Florida. So if you go down to Vero Beach, Florida, they are at 935 15th place in Vero Beach, Florida. Talk to the owner. He'll hook you up with some great 45s. All right, here it is, the gem of the week. It is none other than Talking Heads, Take Me to the River. I never knew who Reverend Al Green was, but I knew this song, and it had an infectious groove and bass beat. Sure enough, Brian Eno produced this, and I got this at none other than Wax Records in Vero Beach. And I remember I could have gone and seen them, but it was either or. $100 to go on the ski trip or free tickets to the Talking Heads, and I went on the frickin' screens. I should have gone to the concert. That's the bottom line. Gem of the week, Talking Heads.